Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip, and I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. Happy holidays to you. Hey guys, so this video was the one that I've been talking about. That's a really important video that I want to put out. It's very personal to me, and I hope that you will watch the video. It will make you think, it will make you feel. That's what my hope is for with this video. If you look up Hollywood, Florida, 1981, you're gonna see a picture of this boy. You don't even have to put his name in. You just have to put Hollywood, Florida, 1981. And he comes up. I remember that picture. A little boy with a baseball bat slung over his shoulder, toothless grin, freckled face, cricket hat. 6-year-old Adam John Walsh. That's my hometown. I remember seeing those flyers everywhere. It would be a few years later that I would get to know personally one of the members of the family. I want to talk about the story of Adam John Walsh. In a small town sandwiched between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, on the east coast of South Florida, where you can hear the waves lap upon each other as they break, hitting the shoreline, where you can smell the salt in the air up to 2 miles past the ocean if the air was just right, where the palm trees made a very specific and distinct sound as the wind would rustle through the palms. In 1981, when the Rubik's Cube was in, when Raiders of the Lost Ark was the movie playing, when Betty Davis' Eyes was a song that we danced to, when we would come in from outside because it got dark out and the streetlights came on. Hollywood was different. Hollywood changed. There's before Adam and there's after. Throughout the years, Adam would remind me of innocence, randomness, evil, sweetness, curiosity, and my little brother. In 1981, Hollywood was nothing like it is today. There was no Guitar Hotel. It was just a small incorporated town that felt very much like a small town at the time. We had 2 malls. We had the Hollywood Mall and the Hollywood Fashion Center. The Hollywood Mall was the smaller of the 2 malls and the oldest of the 2 malls. Its anchor store was Sears. Didn't have a lot of shops, but it had a lot of shops for the time. On July 27th, 1981, a woman named Walsh went into the Sears department store at the Hollywood Mall with her small son Adam, who was only a few months from turning 7 years old. It was at the time when there was Atari. Atari was a big deal. For anybody that doesn't know what Atari is, it was the beginning of home arcade games for us. You connected this box to your television set and you played things like Pong, just with 2 sticks going up and down, and you'd hit a ball or a disc from one side to the other, seeing if you could get past the other little stick. In Sears, there was a display of these games. And of course, it was open to the public to play with them because they wanted kids to buy them, to bug the hell out of their parents. And there were kids playing it, always. There were always kids playing the games. And there were kids playing this day when Reve came in with Adam. And Adam, being fascinated with the kids and the game, he asked his mom, could he just stay and watch the kids play? Reve was 3 aisles away in the lamp aisle. I know that store. 3 aisles is 3 aisles. It's just 3 little aisles. Within 10 minutes, Adam would be gone. 10 minutes. He was with the kids that were playing the game, and apparently there was a little bit of an issue going on with the kids, probably about whose turn it was, or somebody needs to stop playing so it could be somebody's turn. And the 17-year-old security guard, who was new to the job at the time, just had the kids separate and leave the store. 2 different exits. Adam went out with a group of kids, not saying, but my mom's right there. At that time, he listened to authority figures. Even if they were 17 years old, when you're 6 years old, 7 years old, they might as well be at the ripe old age of 25. So Adam listened, and Adam left the store. I don't know how people's lives collide. I don't know why there's opportune moments for people to meet, especially when nothing good can come out of the meeting. While Adam was outside trying to figure out what was going on, lost, confused, at 6, 7 years old, somebody offered him candy and would take him home. Adam was lured into the car and out of there. His mother started looking for Adam and saw immediately that there were no children. But she didn't know that the kids were asked to leave. She just didn't see anybody. And then she looked, and to her surprise and to her relief, she saw her mother-in-law, Jean, and she thought for sure Adam was with his grandma. Jean just happened upon the store that day to get something, not knowing Adam was there with his mom, not knowing her daughter-in-law was there. Jean was surprised to see her daughter-in-law and very shocked to hear that Adam was not with her and she couldn't locate Adam. 10 minutes more, became more frantic, walking around the store calling Adam's name on the loudspeaker, but not anybody saying, I had to put your kid out of the store, or I made your kid go out of the store. They spent over 90 minutes looking in that store for Adam. A young mom, her only child, frantic, scared, not knowing what to do. The police department was literally right across the street. Literally right across the street. Somebody with a good arm could throw a football. But it took a while for Hollywood police to get there. The laws were so different back then. And where was Adam? How could a little boy just disappear? What happened? Back in 1981, the Walshes were a young family. John, Adam's dad, he was working on a hotel that was worth millions. But he was a young guy. The only child they had was Adam. They doted on him, thought the world of him, had dreams of what he would be when he grew up, loved his laughter, loved his curiousness, his amazement with things. In 1981, when a child went missing, they had to be missing for so long. Also, it wasn't believed, so much so, that children just went missing. There were rumors that Reve, his mother, was involved with somebody else. Rumors that were totally unfounded, untrue, because it was so unique back then that you would never believe randomly that a child would be taken for the sake of taking. Flyers went up. The whole town searched. There wasn't any part of Hollywood that went unsearched. There's canals along the lines in Hollywood. You can go from the East Coast to the West Coast, there's canals, you know. Search groups like you never saw. Search groups that were unprecedented for the time, with these flyers that the Walsh family did on their own to try to locate their son, to make people aware. Still, not knowing what happened to Adam. It would be 2 weeks before they would find out, and we would find out what happened to Adam. Well, that's not true. They would find out years later, like 2 decades later, more or less, what happened to Adam for sure, when they would close the case in 2008 with one remnant left, the only remains of Adam Walsh. It was his head. They never found any other parts of Adam Walsh. It's believed that Adam was killed the same day he was taken. It's believed that what happened was that a little boy was scared when he was outside of a department store without his mom and without anybody around him that he knew. And somebody knew that and saw that and preyed on that. And that opportune moment became disastrous and horrific for a family, but most importantly for a little boy. It's believed that Otis Toole was the person that abducted Adam from the Sears department store parking lot. As the Walsh family left, they had an old checker cab, like an old checker cab, the round ones. And they left it in the same parking spot in the Sears Mall in hopes that Adam would find his way into it, not knowing that Adam was taken out of the area, not knowing that there was any foul play. Of course, they sensed it, they feared it, but they didn't know. So they left their car open for Adam to find his way back into it. But Adam wasn't anywhere around through no fault of his own. John and Reve worked tirelessly trying to find their son. Tirelessly, but there was no communication between towns. If Adam was found even 50 miles away from their hometown or from their county, from my county, my hometown, they wouldn't know, because there was no communication. There was no central base. There was no one phone number where you could report a missing child. So not only were the flyers up, not only were they screaming at the news and the newspapers everywhere, they were fighting with the law to change the law, to find their son. There was 30 children on milk crates at that time. Eton Pates was the first child on a milk crate. He and Adam, they look so much alike in my opinion. They remind me of each other, always have. The laws were different. You had to wait. There was no, it was so detached. There was nobody looking for Adam 20 miles from where the abduction or the last seen area was. There was nothing. It might as well have been. There was no missing child. That was going to change. That was going to change. The morning of that day that Adam was found, or his remains were found, John and Hervé were on Good Morning America pleading for the safe return of their child. Pleading for the safe return of their child. Knowing that somebody was going to be, John's good friend was going to be determining if the remains found about 130 miles away from Hollywood, Florida, north in a canal, the Florida Turnpike, would the head of a child be that of Adam's? And it was. And the dental records proved it. And then the fight began. John Walsh, in his fight to find his child, and then to realize that there was such a disconnection in finding children, in knowing that children can be abducted, and children had been abducted, John Walsh fought and became the founder in 1984 of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and in 1988 became host of America's Most Wanted. It's tracked down hundreds of fugitives, saved many lives. On July 27, 2006, 25 years after Adam went missing, then President George W. Bush signed the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act into law, which created a national database of convicted child sex offenders, strengthened federal penalties. Yeah, this is tough. This sucks. Then President George W. Bush signed the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act into law, which created a national database of convicted child sex offenders, strengthened federal penalties for crimes against children, and provided funding and training for law enforcement to fight crimes involving the sexual exploitation of children via the internet. Adam went missing long before the internet. It just goes to show John's fight continues to this day. Adam's death wasn't in vain. Started finally connecting police departments together, having one agency take care of this, so that when children went missing, they had one phone number to call to report things to. One man did that. because his son went missing. Took all that grief, and instead of turning it into anger, which I'm sure he felt, which I'm sure he had, it did turn out to be something to help many a children and many a parents get their kids back. And that's got to account for something. I also want to say that I don't know what marriages are made of anymore, but John and Reve are still married to this day. And again, they had 3 children after the brutal loss of their son Adam. So hats off and biggest respect to them. In 1993, 1994, I was 21 years old. And I was working at a place called T.Y. Park. It was in Hollywood, Florida. And it stood for Topekiji Yugni. So that's how that's pronounced. And it meant the meeting place, the gathering place. It's an Indian, that was an Indian language. I was a park ranger when I was 18. So about 3 years later, I had the pleasure of working with Jean Walsh, Adam Walsh's grandmother. And the impact she had on my life continues to this day. And, you know, we're going back 40 years. There was a little boy named Joey that used to come to the park with his dad. His dad worked on the trains. So maybe he'd be gone for 2 weeks and then come home for a week, and he would always take Joey to T.Y. Park. And Joey had blonde hair, and he was about the same age as Adam. And I used to watch Gene spend time with this little boy and get him presents and stuff. And I was 20, 21 years old. And I thought, how is that possible? How does she not look at that boy and just break? And I asked her. And she said, why? Why? So that tells you who Gene was. And the conversations we had, because we worked together for a couple years, the conversations we had, they were life-changing for me. They taught me grace. I'd like to say that they taught me forgiveness, but Jean didn't forgive. She knew who killed her grandson. Even before, you know, the police let us know who killed her grandson. But I remember when I met Jean, I met a grandmother without a grandchild. And I know years later, as we know, John Walsh, because we know John Walsh from all of his great achievements, he had 3 more children that Adam would have been a big brother to. 2 boys and a girl. So I know that Jean knew that she had grandchildren before she passed on. She told me a long time ago she wasn't going to live a really long life. She had lost her husband at an earlier age, and that's who Adam was named after. Her husband's name was John, but they called him Jack. And anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. My first great heartbreak, Jean helped me with that, right? And I was gay, so I mean, she was fine with that. And this is back in the 80s, right? And she had shared with me her great love was her husband. And I said to her, do you think one day you'll marry again? And she said, no, and I don't want to. I had the best. And that's the type of person she was. So she's with her grandson now. So I just wanted to share that with you guys as well. In 1983, Otis Elwood Toole, who was an inmate at Rayford Prison, confessed to Adam's abduction. He confessed to his murder as well. He recanted that, but he was precise in so many other things that the police didn't share, like what was used to decapitate. Adam died from asphyxiation. So they knew that, you know, he shit. Even with the only remains of a decapitated head left, they knew that Adam had died from asphyxiation. Toole said that he had strangled Adam, and then he had said what he used to decapitate Adam with. That tool was never shared with anybody. So the fact that Toole knew the device that was used to decapitate and everything else, you know, matched with they never found the rest of Adam. They only found his head. And so without that, they couldn't properly convict Otis of the crime. Though he admitted several times he did it and recanted several times. There was too much information that he knew. And my friend Jean was convinced that Otis Toole was the one that murdered her grandson. There was thought and there was talk about maybe Jeffrey Dahmer, who apparently was in the area at the time. My hometown, Jeffrey Dahmer, right? But it was proven that Jeffrey Dahmer told the truth. I mean, as horrific as his crimes were, when he was asked if he killed somebody, he told the truth. Why he wouldn't tell the truth about Adam, they don't know. But they do feel that Otis Toole had so much information on the case and knew so much that for sure they were convinced that he was the one that killed Adam, that abducted Adam and killed Adam. He said that his intention wasn't really to kill Adam, but that Adam was getting more and more nervous as they were driving further and further away, and he tried to shut him up. Otis Toole died of cirrhosis while he was incarcerated in 1996. He had AIDS. Hope it was really painful for him. On December 16, 2008, the police department in Hollywood, Florida announced that the case against Toole was strong enough to close the investigation into Adam's death. And when they closed the investigation, the family was able to get the remains of their son. Think about that. Thank you guys. Thank you for sharing part of your day with me. I really appreciate it. I hope that you guys got something from this video, that it meant something to you, and that you reflect on it later. Anyway, guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. This is Toddy One Skip. Thank you so much. Be better today than you were yesterday, but not half as good as you're going to be tomorrow. Thank you.